I'd like to welcome y'all back to another episode of Beyond the Fear podcast, the place where y'all come for motivation, inspiration, uplifting, and an overall positive message. I'm your host, DJ, and I just want to talk about these past couple of days. I took a trip to Houston last week, and I was out there for about 3 days, enjoying myself, had a good time. My grandfather's 88th birthday. So we were just out there celebrating with him and family, having a good time. But on our way back home, and I'm the type of person I like to get up, hit the road like around 4 in the morning. That way it's not traffic, hopefully isn't as crazy, isn't as bad, because it's a 5.5 hour drive, I think. So we'll just say 6 hours, maybe getting gas, maybe hitting a little traffic, whatever the case may be. So on our way back, but I did enjoy myself. I had a good time. I really needed that. I wasn't in the best of head spaces because of a lot of stuff that's going on at work and things like that. So I wasn't in the best of head spaces. So I really needed that reset to just get my mind right, to get my perspective back aligned, and to really just remember that I have a lot of good things going on, a lot of positive things, a lot of things to be appreciative and thankful for. So that trip was needed in so many different ways. So I'm very thankful and appreciative of that trip. But what inspired this particular episode is on the way back. So on the way back home from Houston, like I said, 4 in the morning, get up, we go. We always hit up Bucky's out there. So we're driving. We're about an hour, maybe an hour and a half into the drive back home, and we hit traffic because they're doing road work. So it goes from 3 lanes to 1 lane, and then there's a detour for about maybe a couple of miles. And man, this detour took us all just every which way, And so I felt myself getting frustrated because it's like I have it in my head, hey, it's going to take this long to do this for this trip. We'll get home around this time again, just putting in, having to get gas, all of that stuff. So we'll get home around this time. So I have everything I have, in my head of how I plan it to go. So, and I mean, this detour is just taking us longer. So every exit the cops have, every exit to get back on the interstate blocked because they just doing road work. So we finally just find this back road and we're rolling, and at this point I'm looking at the time, we've already added maybe an hour and a half to the trip because of the detour. So I'm frustrated in my head, I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed. And so like I said, back road, nothing but fields and cows, and a house every now and then. Every couple of miles, there's a house. Then I notice there's a cop is behind us. So now I'm tight, even though done nothing wrong. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm doing the speed limit. It's just you just never know. Like, this isn't an area I'm familiar with. I'm out in the middle of what feels like nowhere, you know, and and you just don't know if this is going to be one of those days where the cop just wants to make an example. I mean, it's just all type of things are going through my mind. And so every couple of minutes I'll look into my rear view and I see him, on the radio or whatever. So I guess everything checks out and everything's good. Like, I guess our plates come back clean, everything's good. So he goes around us, and he pulls up to the next. He was behind us for about 10, well, probably about 6, 7 minutes, 6 to 8 minutes. He's behind us. Then he goes to the next car, and then he goes off. But so I mean, it was just like a sense of relief. And in that moment, once I saw that he put on his turn signal and was just gonna go around us, it was just kind of like, you know what? I mean, I just had a moment of just thank you, Lord. Because in my head, in my mind, it could have gone left. Because in my head, we're in the middle of nowhere, or at least again, let me say what feels like nowhere because it's somewhere to the people who live there. But it feels like we're in the middle of nowhere. The cop could be on BS if he wanted to, and you just never know. You know what I'm saying? So, so again, so once he goes around us, I'm just like, thank you. I'm like, thank you, Lord. That's all I kept saying. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. And it just put into perspective for me. It wasn't, I didn't even care that we were now at this point, I think like 2 hours behind. I didn't care. My thing was as long as we get home safe. I don't care what time we get there, how late we get there, as long as we get there. And so the message for today is sometimes, again, because I know that, like I said before, like I said, I think last episode or episode before that, it's important to slow down. I think it's also important to understand that life isn't going to always go the way we want it to. Life isn't lived in a straight line. Life just does not go in a straight line. There's going to be twists. There's going to be turns. There's going to be detours. There's going to be pit stops. Things are going to happen that are going to delay your plans. Doesn't mean that it stops it, but it just delays it. Doesn't mean that you don't get to your destination. It just may have to come at a different time. And I remember early on in my therapy, my therapist was trying to get me to understand the idea of detours can be okay, because at that time I was so focused on getting back to Houston and trying to get back everything that I felt I lost, when I had to move back, to Mississippi, to because I was going through some stomach issues and I needed the support because I lost my job. So in my head, like, no, I got to get back out to Houston. And she was just like, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's the goal, if Houston is the goal, there's nothing wrong with that. But understand that you may have to take a few detours before you get there. And I wasn't trying to hear none of that. I wasn't trying to hear no detours. I wasn't trying to hear none of that talk, and she could tell every time she mentioned the word detour, it's like my face would kind of scrunch up. And, I was very resistant to the idea of detours because in my mind, if I detour, that means I'm not going to make it. If I detour, that means that I'm not going to get there. I didn't understand at the time that sometimes you need those detours. Sometimes you need those delays because the road that you're traveling on, you may be hitting something way worse. There may be something on your journey, on the journey that you're on the road that you're on, the route that you're taking right now. There may be something that's getting ready to come up that could be of a lot of harm to you. So sometimes you need to reroute and sometimes you need to take those detours. But I didn't understand that because I was, in my mind at the time, life was lived in a straight line. So if you want that, you got to take the most direct approach to getting it. And, now that I can sit back and think about it, that's not a realistic way of thinking because that's not the way life works. We can have the greatest plans, we can have the greatest ideas, we can take years to put a plan together of or a roadmap of our lives, and there are going to always be snags. There are going to always be unforeseen things that happen, things that you couldn't even think of to plan for. There's always going to be those things that come out of nowhere and hit you blindside. You don't expect deaths, you don't expect sicknesses, you don't expect COVID, you don't expect these epidemics. There's certain things, there's a plenty of things that we just don't expect to happen that hit us. And it's like it's going to throw your plans off. That's a part of it. And so I had to learn that being flexible, being understanding, being open to doing the detours is going to help you get there because because of course we may view a detour as a delay, but sometimes that detour stops you from going through whatever you was about to go through that may have derailed your plans even longer. You know what I'm saying? Because who's to say just as a hypothetical, when we're on that trip, if we stay on that straight line and there may be something in there that there may be, because of the road work, something happens to where we blow a tire. Now we have to be there even longer than it would have taken to just to do the detour to go around to make that new route. I say all of that just to say it's important to understand that sometimes detours are needed. Sometimes we don't see what's going on because sometimes we're so focused on the end goal, we're so focused on the finish line that we don't take the time to look down and realize that, hey, we on a tightrope. This part of the journey that we're on is getting real dangerous. It's getting real sticky because we're not paying attention to. We're so focused on the destination that we're not focusing on, the route that we're taking and how many obstacles or how many potential delays may be on this route that may be getting ready to put us in a position of where we're going to have to wait even longer than what we would have had to wait going on going on that detour. And so when we finally got off the detour and finally got back on the road, I think the first thing she did was just say thank you guys, and then she just did like a little quick prayer of just keeping us safe and all of that because again, like I said, we would what felt like the middle of nowhere to us, and anything could have happened. You know what I'm saying? So, and it just put into perspective, like that police officer getting behind me in that moment, just put into perspective, like I don't care how long this detour is. I don't care how many hours that detour may have added to the trip. I just want to make it home safe. And that's why I say that this trip put a lot of things into perspective for me. Because again, I may have a lot of things and negative things going on at work, but I have a job that affords me the ability to take a trip, to have time off, to be able to afford therapy. And I know I've talked about it before, to be able to pay my car note off, to be able to afford the trainer that I had, that's helped me on my weight loss journey. It's so many things that when I change my perspective, when I take the time to change my perspective and view my life from different angles and different lenses, I have a lot of great things going for me, and I shouldn't be allowing this one part of my life, which is the things that are going on in my job, to make me feel like I have a bad life. I have a bad circumstance at this job. Doesn't even make the job itself bad. Just the circumstance of certain situations with certain people is bad. And for a minute, I allowed it to cloud my judgment. I allowed it to make me think that I have a bad life and that my situation is all bad and there is no good. So I needed that. So that detour, when I stopped and I thought about it, because maybe you'll hear this story and maybe you'll think, okay, you're overanalyzing it. And to you, I might be, but for me, it was what I needed because it gave me that jolt and that perspective of I'm complaining about I'm making problems way bigger than they have to be. I'm taking a problem in one part of my life and I'm making it the problem in every part of my life, to where I'm not even finding the positive, the good in anything that's going on. And I've almost convinced myself that I have a bad life. I may not have the best life. I may not have the greatest life, but I do not have the worst life and I do not have a bad life. And there are plenty of people who would trade places with me in a heartbeat, wouldn't even think about it, So that detour did a lot for me. And I hope that if you are going through a detour, whether it's an actual one, mental, emotional, financial, whatever it is, take the time to understand that you're probably going through that for a reason. And yeah, that detour may be a good reason. That detour may be a good thing. And I know that while we're going through it, because it's making our trip longer, it's making that destination feel even further away, whether it's that financial goal or that mental goal, life goal, whatever it is, that goal at the job, whatever it is, there's something to learn in that detour. There's something to gain in that detour. There's something to appreciate in that detour because I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. We may not understand it in the moment, or we may never understand. We may never understand why we go through those detours, but there's something to gain from everything that happens. There's something to learn from every failure, whether it's your failure, someone else's failure. Um, there's something to learn from every success. There's something to learn from everything, good or bad. You know what I'm saying? There's something to learn in all of those things. There are lessons in everything. I know. I seen a post, a reel, whatever, where Tyler Perry said he never failed. He just, he never had a failure. He just had a lot of lessons. And that's the mentality to have, because everything that doesn't succeed is a lesson. And you learn why it didn't succeed. You learn why it didn't work. What exactly didn't work? What can you do to change that? If it's something you can fix on your own, great. If it's something you need to bring somebody in and fix, cool. But at least you're understanding why it didn't work, why you weren't able to get as far as you wanted to get, why there was this stumble in this situation, whatever the case may be. But that's still just a detour. You know what I'm saying? As long as you're willing to keep going, it may take you a little longer, but you're still going to get there. As long as you get there safely, that's what matters. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to get there. What matters is that you get there safely. That's the important thing. And that was definitely one of the things that I took away from that detour. It was just, I don't care when we make it home. I just want to make it home in one piece. Mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually. I just want to make it home in one piece. That was the most important thing to me, was just making it home. It wasn't even about the hours that were added on. Again, something that I was frustrated about, but again, once that cop passed us by, it was like that didn't even matter anymore. I just wanted for me and my mom to make it home safe, make it back whole in one piece. And again, that just naturally brought up a lot of things that I had been going through, and it made me realize that I was making a big deal out of things that are making it a bigger deal than it should have been. And I was, again, allowing it to pour over into other parts of my life where everything may be in a good space and I'm having a good time, but because I'm allowing something in one part of my life that may not be going well, now that's taking up so much space in my head, so much of my time, so much of my mental time and mental space, that it's affecting everything. Now I'm feeling like I'm having a bad life. Now I'm feeling like, you know, things are like it's the worst. You know what I'm saying? Just not appreciating things because I'm thinking everything's worse than what it really is, just because I'm not working through this one part of my life. I'm not dealing with it. I'm just sitting in the anger. I'm sitting in the frustration. I'm sitting in the resentment. I'm sitting in, just all of these negative emotions, and I'm allowing it to spill over into every single other part of my life where things may be going good. So it got to the point of where I didn't want to do the podcast. I didn't want to really talk to people. I didn't want to talk to my therapist because I didn't want to hear anything. You know what I'm saying? It just was bleeding. It was just bleeding onto everything. Everything was just negative. I was seeing the negative in everything, and I wasn't taking the time to see the positive in anything. And it's so crazy where you can get that enlightenment, where you can get that understanding, where you can get that eye opening experience through any situation. And that's why I say there's a lesson in everything. Everything happens for a reason. The reason may not be good, but everything happens for a reason. There's something to learn in everything that you're going through. So I know a lot of us are going through these detours, in our lives where we planned something and we spent a lot of time on this plan, and we worked on this plan, and we want this plan to go. This plan is designed for us to move as efficiently and effectively through whatever it is, school, job, getting ready for this promotion, this relationship, this marriage, whatever it may be. And there are going to be snags. There are going to be things that are unexpected. There's going to be detours on every single trip. There's going to be hard times. There's going to be, um, just things that pop up. It's a part of life. And, we have to learn how to handle them. We have to learn how to deal with them. We have to learn how to adjust. When life sends us left, we got to be okay with going left. We can't keep trying to fight going straight. And now we hitting that guardrail and we're tearing up the car, and you know what I'm saying? And I know plenty of us, because I know me, I'm one of those people who would tear my life up because I was trying to go straight when life was telling me to go right. I mean, go left, go right, whatever the case may be. They're trying to, my life just trying to take me on a detour. And I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to go my way. I was very, and I'm still pretty hard headed. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm not, but I was very, very hard headed and stubborn, and things had to be my way. If I was going to do it, I was going to do it my way, or it wasn't going to get done at all. And God has a very funny way of humbling you, and I don't know if I call it funny. I'll just say a very real way of humbling you. And I needed to be humbled, and I needed to be appreciative, and I needed to understand that things can be taken away from you. You know what I'm saying? Things, no matter how high you think you are, or how untouchable you may feel at any given moment, those things that you've worked so hard for, that you put so much value on, can be taken away from you. And now what? Once it's gone, now what? The things that you feel make you who you are, the things that make you valuable, the things that you put so much value and time and attention into, that car, that house, these material things, once it's taken, now what? Now what do you do? Now who are you? Now what value do you have? And it forces you to really look deep, And again, it's something else that I had a trouble with in therapy. Who are you? What do you like? If I take this and this away, what do you have? Where's your value? These are questions that I couldn't answer because I didn't know. Because I was one of those people who put so much value in material things, and put so much value and time into tangible things, that I was putting no time into developing me, developing my self-worth, developing my self-love, to caring for myself, to doing what I needed to do to make sure that if I lose this, and this, I still know my worth. I still know my value. I still know how to appreciate, love, and care on myself. I didn't know how to do those things, so I didn't even know who I was, you know what I'm saying, outside of like materialistic stuff, the enjoyment and the love of materialistic stuff. But just looking inward, I didn't know I didn't know much, you know what I'm saying? Because I put so much value on outside stuff, so much work into getting me a car, so much work into getting an apartment, so much work into trying to impress people so I can get that promotion and get some more money and things like that, that I wasn't really working on myself. I wasn't adding value to myself. I wasn't doing the things that I needed to be doing to love myself and to care for myself and to appreciate me. And and I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't still put time and effort into those things, but I can honestly say that I put just as much, if not more, effort into myself, into loving myself, into trying to understand myself, or understanding what who I am, what I like, what I care about, what are the things that I'm passionate about. When I go to talk to people, I can talk about myself. I can talk about who I am as a person, of the things that I've been through, the things that I've overcome, the things that I'm overcoming, the things that I've worked on and I'm still working on, and where I've made improvements in my personal life, and how much the people around me who truly know me can see, not just me talking the talk, but me walking the walk. They see me in real time handling things a lot better. They see me in real time, um, being able to make better decisions, because they remember a time when I would have been bumping my head to try to go straight. They remember a time when I would have shut down instead of taking a second to gather my thoughts and then have a conversation, or taking a self for me to calm down so that I can have a healthy conversation with someone, instead of just going off about whatever it is that I want to go off about. They see where, when somebody says something's making them uncomfortable, or there's something that they don't like, they can see me, hear what they saying, process that, and do my best to stop it, instead of, I don't care how you feel. This is what I want to be doing. So this is what I'm going to do. So there's a lot of growth that I've been through in this past year, especially since starting therapy. And I've been doing a lot of self reflecting. I've been doing a lot of, just adding to myself and pouring into myself and building myself up, so that way, if there ever comes a time, and I, God forbid that it doesn't, but even if it does, comes another time where I have to lose everything, or lose a lot. I won't say everything, but lose a lot of the things that I worked hard to get. And I'm back in a position of having to now build everything back up. I don't feel empty, because I know the time, the effort, the energy that I've poured into myself, and they can't take that. They can take the car, they can take the apartment, they can take those things, but they can't take the work that I've put into building myself. And so I know I went on a little tangent, and, I took a little detour, but to get back onto the topic, I say all of that to say, I know that we're all going through detours. Our detours look different, and there's different levels, you know, but I would just say, while you're going through that detour, whatever it may be, and I know it's hard, it's never going to be easy to deal with detours. It's never easy to have a plan and to set out on that plan, and then something happens to where now you got to go right when you wanted to stay straight, or you got to go left when you wanted to go right, or you got to take some time, take a step or two back when the plan was always to move forward. But while you're in that detour, while you're in that pit stop where you just got to where you got to put a pause on whatever it is that you're doing, take that time to reflect and understand that this is not a bad thing, that detours do not mean denial. Detours are just simply delays. And yes, it may take you a longer time to get to where you want to be, but understand that the most important thing is that you get there. It doesn't matter how you get there, it doesn't matter when you get there. What matters is that you get there. That's the most important thing. So if you have to take that detour, if you have to take that delay, if you have to take that pit stop and that pause, do that. But that does not mean that your journey is over. That just means that your journey is not going to be what you originally thought it was going to be. It's not going to look the way you originally thought it was going to look. All that matters at the end of the day is that you make it home. And whatever home may be, whatever home is for you, in that whether home is that financial stability, home could be the marriage, home could be um, peace in your life. Home could be whatever, financial freedom, whatever it is, whatever home is for you, whatever that goal, whatever that finish line is. The only thing that matters, take as many detours as you need to take. The main thing that matters is that you make it home safely. So the next time you're going through that detour, if you're going through that detour right now, just remember the goal is to make it home. The goal is to make it across that finish line. Doesn't matter how long it takes, you make it across that finish line. That is the only thing that matters. That is the goal. But I want to thank everybody for listening on whatever platforms y'all are listening to the podcast. I really do appreciate it, and I love the support. To everybody watching on YouTube, I appreciate and I love y'all as well. Please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until the next time we meet, y'all already know, stay blessed.